So why is there such less social distancing on the girls' side and there's more on the men's side? COVID doesn't exist in the ladies' side. Why are you guys pushing back? Just you can push forward, but apart. Sheikh, would you come sit here? Come here. Assalamu alaikum. So, I thought I saw Sana. Okay, I saw a car. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Today we're blessed with that Sheikh Abdullah Ibrahim with us from Virginia. Him and a few brothers, one doctor, one medical student, two other guys are here. They came for condolence to my brother, and they finally got time to come now. And they've been asking to visit for a few months. So they drove all the way down to Virginia just to give us condolence and see us. And he's here. He's a sheikh, brother right here on my right. So sheikh, he studied 7 years in South Africa, 2 years after that. So mashallah, he's an imam, has his own institute in Virginia. He had time to come. So I'm really going to ask him to give this speech today. And he's going to get mad. So I might force him later on. And part of the visit is to give some words of wisdom. No shit comes for free. And then after like last session, that brother got scared talking about the grave so much. You guys remember? So I was like, should I even prepare the next session for today? And so I might just give like a curveball, just to uplift your spirits. Is that fine, guys? Because the next session is about all the time the Prophet ﷺ witnessed the punishments of the graves. And a lot of that witnessing was in Mi'raj, when he saw what was happening in the graves to people and their behavior and their consequences. I honestly didn't prepare for this week. I prepared it last week for this week. So I'm like 1 week ahead. I had guests coming. So I'm just going to just uplift our spirits. Is that okay, guys? Everyone online, I hope you guys don't get bored. And I feel like too much of the grave can be a little heavy. Because Sarah, I bet you Sarah couldn't sleep. And what's your name? Huh?
Lubna.
Lubna? Ahlan wa sahlan. I heard what happened with Hani asking that question. You're not the first person asking about Zainab. You know, like Zainab radiallahu anha was buried dammatan fi qabriha, and the grave narrowed upon her, and that kind of like scares us. So Sarah asked that question, and someone asked the question after that, and then in my young professional halaqa, that question was asked again on Monday. And I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is far more merciful than his wrath. لما خلق الله الخلق كتب في كتابه فهو عنده فوق العرش إن رحمتي تغلب غضبي وسبقت غضبي. There is no way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to default punish someone. The punishments of the graves which are mentioned to, are real. They're not just exemplary punishments. If this happens, chances are this is going to be the punishment. But how can someone so righteous like Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, if anyone was going to be spared from the punishment of the grave, it would be Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, and we know that it was narrowed in the sense that the Prophet felt for him and he prayed for him for ease. I think those people are held to a higher standard, right? They're Sahaba. And we are much weaker. Like Hasanatul Abara Sayyidatul Muqarrabin. Pious people are held to a higher standard. Like the Prophet Allah says in the Quran to the wives of the Prophet, Ya Nisa al-Nabi, lastunna ka-ahad bin al-Nisa. To the wives of the Prophet, you are women, but you're not like ordinary women. And the ordinary women that are being spoken about are the wives of the Sahaba. You understand? Allah says later on, If you do something wrong, we're going to give you double the punishment. SubhanAllah, it's scary. So from that, I deduce that نحن الضعفاء والمساكين. وين نحن? Where are we and where are they? So I think this is how I kind of analyze it, and I might be very optimistic about this. When it comes to standardizing a standard, the gold standard are the Sahaba. And when it comes to making mistakes, they're going to be example. They're going to be the example of it too. Also, like you guys are supposed to be the ones leading the way. For us, if we do something good, we'll get rewarded like the way the Sahaba rewarded. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَاتَّبَعْتُمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُم, or وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُم بِإِحْسَانٍ. Those who followed them will get rewarded like them. You know. But when it comes to the struggle that we have, we won't get punished like or questioned like the earlier generation, because the climate is different. Tonight, I went to a funeral at Lohar today, and it was one of my mom's best friend. She died from COVID. Rahimahullah, qulu amin. Allah give her firdaus. Allahumma ighfir laha warhamha wa wasi' madkhalaha wa akrim nuzulaha. And went to the burial, and it reminded me of Sheikh Abu Mu'adh a lot, because she's another person that I knew, and person that died from COVID. And the constant discussion around that family, around the people, is the next stage. The next place is paradise, inshallah. And I think earning paradise is a mindset. The mindset has to be made that I want to be a person inhabitant of paradise. I want to enter Jannah. And this was a mindset the Prophet ﷺ made of the Sahaba. It was an easy mindset, a mindset of looking at this world as a tool to earn that paradise. And my brother at the grave said something very, very beautiful. He said that you should list all those things that you don't want to be doing when you're dying. Right? Make a list. And then you should make a list of all those things that you actually want to do while you're dying. He said, I already made my list. And he was talking about that for a few minutes. And the Prophet ﷺ, he created mindsets within men and women. One day, Ata bin Rabah was sitting with his teacher, Abdullah bin Abbas. And Abdullah bin Abbas says, Ala urika imra'atan min ahli jannah. Should I not show you a woman from paradise? And a woman walked by. And when she walked by, he said, this woman from Africa. جاءت إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. She came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. She said, Ya Rasulullah, إني أتكشف فضل الله. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I have إني أسرع. I have epileptic attacks. I have seizures. وتكشف. I have seizures, and when I have these seizures, my body gets exposed. I want you to pray to Allah that Allah gives me cure from this sickness. Do you know anyone that has seizures? Anybody know anyone that has seizures? You know? You know someone? Anybody else know anyone that has seizures or like these epileptic attacks? You're so scared. There's a brother that works in my brother's school, his name is Uthman, Allah give him shifa. He was on the phone parked in front of the building, and he was talking to one of the staff at the school. And he just came to park the car, and he had a seizure, and the car was not in park mode. Like it was still in gear. And the car went straight up the sidewalk into the tree. But alhamdulillah, it was parked. These things happen. Right? And from that moment, I told my brother, he's not allowed to drive. He's not allowed to drive, so we've designated a driver for him for the past 2 months. This happened 2 months ago. You know, wherever he goes. If he's coming to the school, we're not responsible. We're going to send him a driver. But if he's going somewhere else with his wife is responsible. His mom's responsible. Till here, we're responsible. Something very, very painful. Mentally, it's very painful. But this woman's case was that it's not about I can't drive. She's like, when I have seizures, my body gets exposed. So make dua to Allah that Allah gives me shifa. So the Prophet ﷺ is making a mindset. Check this mindset. He says, I can pray to Allah and Allah can give you shifa. Or sabarti wa lakil jannah. Or you stay patient in this difficulty, Allah will give you Jannah. Allah will give you paradise for sure. I promise you, when you go through these painful times in your life, and these epileptic attacks, I promise you, I promise you paradise. She says, I'm ready to tolerate the difficulty of this epileptic and these seizures, but I have that same request. I'm worried about me exposing my body. When I fall, my body gets exposed, and I'm scared that someone will see me, and I don't want that to happen. So the Prophet said, okay, I can make dua that when you have these attacks, your body does not get exposed. So she was ready to go through that sickness. How many people have allergies? Raise your hand. Any allergies? Dairy, eggs. Anybody? Nobody? Nobody has allergies? Anybody here has lactose? No one's lactose? Everyone's healthy here? Okay, look, listen, man, I'm not your primary doctor. I'm just asking you guys, like, if any allergies. So you may think about that, the inconvenience for a second. I've had no allergies all my life. Just recently, a year ago, I realized I get allergic reaction, or I get reaction from a certain type of cloth, certain type of material. I don't know if it's linen or something. It's just, I know that my body reacts to that. Limited to what type of cloth I can wear, or what type of bed sheets can be laid on my bed. And it's really painful, it's irritating, it makes me restless. I did know that there were certain cloths that if I wore it, I would get little red rashes. You know, or not rashes, but like little red irritation on my skin. But it was nothing. I think as I get older and as I age, it might become more of a problem. And it's painful. It's subhanAllah. These small painful times are paradise. These, like, every time you think about, like, oh man, I want to have that chocolate, but I'm lactose, right? Like, subhanAllah. There are so many people who have diabetes, or they have certain type of sickness. They have headaches. My younger brother who passed away had severe migraines. Migraines are painful. Anybody have migraines here? Or like, you're like kind of like checked out, you can't see anything. I know Bilal does. Allah give you shifa fully. Qul ameen. You know, there's all these things, but nobody knows what to do. So I think about this hadith that Allah Rasul in these difficult times, the mindset. Of course, you want to seek healing and cure, but don't worry, Jannah is there for you. And that's what the Prophet he kind of trained them so much that if it was their money for Jannah, if it was their life for Jannah, if it was their family for Jannah, it wasn't worrying. The famous story about Abu Dahdah. I don't know if you guys remember. I've told you so many stories, you guys probably heard them all. Abu Dahdah comes to the Prophet and he says, this verse was revealed. مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. Who is ready to give God a loan? Meaning gives him charity, Allah will give them Allah will give them multiply that reward. So Abu Dahdah comes to the Prophet. He says, فِدَاكَ بِأَبِي وَأُمِّي يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. May my parents be sacrificed for you. إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَيَسْتَقْرِضُنَا وَهُوَ غَنِيٌّ عَنِ الْقَرْضِ. It's true. That God is asking us for a loan and He's rich. He doesn't need anything. And Allah revealed this ayah, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. So is it real that Allah is saying He wants a loan? And He is richer than anyone. وَلِلَّهِ خَزَائِنُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا عِندَنَا خَزَائِنُهُ وَلِلَّهِ مِيرَاثُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. What does God need from you? يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ أَنْتُمُ الْفُقَرَاءُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ الْغَنِيُّ الْحَمِيدُ. What can you do for Allah? لَأَنَّ أَوَّلَكُمْ وَآخِرَكُمْ وَإِنسَكُمْ وَجِنَّكُمْ قاموا في سعيد واحد فسألوني فأعطيت كل إنسان مسألة ما نقص مما عندي إلا كما ينقص المخيط إذا دخل البحر. If the world gets together, all the humans from the beginning of time to the end of time, jinn, ins, ask Allah for their wishes and their demands and their favors, and they supplicate. Allah said, I can give each one of them their demands until they're exhausted themselves in asking. They're exhausted. Allah says, the decrease in my kingdom is like a needle dipped into an ocean. The moisture that's on the needle, not even that much decreases from my kingdom. That's how wealthy Allah is. SubhanAllah. So Allah is asking for a loan. He's ghani na'am. Guess what the Prophet said? He didn't say, oh, there's a project or there's some poor people. I think you should help them. He says, يُرِيدُ أَن يُدْخِلَكُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. He made the mind say, Allah has a plan to give you Jannah. So he says, in aqradtullah yudhilni al-jannah. If I give God a loan, are you telling me Allah will promise me a Jannah? He says, no. He says, okay, he thinks about it. He said, well, so if I give something in charity, so you promise me Jannah? How about my wife? So I promise you, So how about the children of Bintay ibn Dahdah? How about the children of Dahdah? And how about my son? Probably had a son from a different spouse from before this marriage. He said, all your children, you, your wife, and your children, Allah will Jannah. I promise if you do something for Allah's sake, Allah will give you guys all Jannah. And he says, Ya Rasulullah, give me your hand. He said, give me your hand. فَمَدَّ رَسُولُ يَدَهُ. The Prophet extended his hand. And he put his hand on the Prophet. He says, أُشْهِدُكَ يَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِنَّ لِي حَدِيقَتَيْنِ إِحْدَاهُمَا فِي الْعَالِيَةِ وَالْأُخْرَى فِي السَّافِلَةِ. I have two massive properties, real estate properties, gardens. One in the hills, one in the valley. I give them both. أَقْرَضْتُهُمُ اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. I give them both and hope that Allah will give me Jannah. And the Prophet ﷺ says, no. He says, keep one and take one and give one for the second. Don't give both. And he said, Wallahi la amliku ghayrahuma. I don't own anything except for these two. This is all my value of my wealth. Unbelievable story. Prophet ﷺ says, keep one. He said, fine. I'll give you ahsanahuma. I'll give the best real estate property I have. Sittami an-nakhla. And it has 600 date palm trees. 600 date palm trees in Medina, prime property. I promise you, this is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet ﷺ says, for you there's Jannah in your family. So he goes home. Now he has to tell his wife. Right? Imagine at a fundraiser, your dad gets excited. Right? And he says, I give my house. Right? In charity. So he comes home and he says, Hadaki Rabbi Subid al-Rashadi. Ila sabil khayri was sadadi. He comes home and he says, listen, my wife, Allah has guided us to an option. And he says a poem. Bayni al-ha'iti bil wadadi. He says, this whole valley that I have is all for the deen of Allah. قَدْ مَضَى قَرْضًا إِلَى التَّنَادِي. I gave this a loan, not for 1 year. Sometimes you give a loan for 10 years. 2 years you give someone a loan. I gave this loan and I'm going to get the return on the day of judgment. That's unbelievable. أَقْرَضْتُهُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا عَلَىٰ اعْتِمَادِي. Sometimes you give someone a loan and you write a promissory note. You have a lawyer sign it, but you never get it back. He said, I gave this loan to God, just knowing that Allah will give me back the compensation. بِالطَّوْعِ لَا مَنًّا وَلَا إِرْتِدَادِ. I do never want to, I am not in the place to show Allah that I've done a favor for him, but I've done it just for Allah's deen. And he tells his wife later on in the poem, he says, "Irtahili bin nafsi wal awladi." Get yourself up, get the children, let's get out of this fortune. So it says, when the children found out, they started grabbing dates, putting them in their pockets, in their sleeves. She came to the kids, took off the dates on their pockets, from their sleeves, emptied them, and they said, let's get out of this garden. Didn't take anything from their garden. The mindset was made. Imagine making all of that. I read this story, I was like, man, it's unbelievable. You know how rich the Prophet was? I'm going to tell you how rich he was. He had no money. He didn't have a big house. But if there was a demand for a cause, he had all the hearts of Medina. He had all the hearts of Medina. Right? How much is it there? He had all the hearts of Medina. You know how wealthy that person is? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he never used it in his benefit. He used it for the Ummah. Then, this one just amazes me. Like the mindset. Like, on the drive here from Oregon, I thought about this topic. The mindset was made. Another one that comes to my mind is Umar bin Hammam Ansari. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, this is the first battle. And you know those ayat like, وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ يَقْتُلُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٍ. They don't call those who have died in the path of Allah as dead. These verses have not been revealed. So it's basically whatever we know about dying right now. We don't know if they're alive, what the reward is. We don't know nothing of that. None of that yet. Correct? So Prophet ﷺ says in the beginning of Badr, قُومُوا إِلَى جَنَّتِكُمْ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ. Get up and go to this paradise that's waiting for you. So Umayr al-Hammam hears this, he says, Ya Rasulullah, Jannah, عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ. Serious? Are you serious? Like if we see, like, if I travel sometimes and I see a rental car, a good car for a cheap price, that's not real. A resort for a good bargain, that's too good to be true. This man is saying, Jannah, عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ. This is too good to be true. He said, the Rasul said, Naam. And then he says, Bakhin, Bakhin. He goes, oh, that's crazy. The excitement, the words of Arab, Bakhin, right? So the Prophet ﷺ says, ما حملك على ما قلت وما حملك على قول بخ بخ. What made you say this word of excitement? Yeah, right, like excited, this is a word of excitement in Arabs. He says, إِلَّا رَجَاءً أَكُونَ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. When you told me there's a paradise that's bigger than the heavens and the earth, I'm hoping that one day I can get there. And the Prophet ﷺ looks at him and says, أَنْتَ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. You're going to Jannah. That's your paradise. And then he was hungry, he was just about to eat. He says, إن أنا حييت حتى أن آكل هذه التمرات إن هذا لحياة طويلة. He said, if I eat these dates, they're in my hand. They're not like at the restaurant. They're in my hand. If I eat them and I digest them, then go, that's a long way to Jannah. Right? That's a long, فَأَلْقَى تَمَرَاتْ كُنَّ فِي يَدِي. And then he gets up. And then he says a very beautiful poem. I hope I remember it. He says something like, رَقْضًا إِلَى اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ زَادٍ. He said, I'm going to God and I have really not much of this thing. رَقْضًا إِلَى اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ زَادٍ إِلَّا التُّقَى وَعَمْلًا مَعَادٍ والصبر في الله على الجهاد وكل زاد عرضة النفاد غير التقى والبر والرشاد. He says this poem. He just says a poem to motivate himself to proceed ahead. Just goes. He says, all I have is piety and some good deeds. Hopefully there's a reward for that. فقاتل حتى قتل. Then the Mufassirin say that this ayah was revealed ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الأموات for this first ayah. For this Umayr al-Hammam and afterward. SubhanAllah, that was the mindset. They prepared, moved ahead. What is our mindset? You know, what am I going to get from doing this and committing to Deen? I'm getting paradise. When the Ansar were told to keep the Prophet ﷺ in Medina, and there's a long story, I'm not going to go through the whole story with Sayyid ibn Hudayr and Abbas. But they said to the Prophet, after the whole negotiation, the Prophet coming to Medina, what are we going to get if we bring you to Medina? The Prophet said, وَلَكُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. So what? فَلَكُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. I promise paradise. Do you know? The Prophet said, مَنْ يَضْمِنْ لِي مَا بَيْنَ لَحْيَيْهِ وَمَا بَيْنَ فَخِذَيْهِ أَضْمَنْ لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. It's a crazy hadith. It sounds like an easy word, but it's this unbelievable hadith. Anyone that can safeguard their mouth and their private parts from lust and desires, the Prophet ﷺ said, I will be responsible for the paradise. I will be responsible for the paradise. Meaning there is no way you're going to hell if you guard these two things. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said this. Guard your mouth from bad way. Guard your desires, your temptations, your eyes. أَضْمُنْ لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. What? أَضْمُنْ لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. What else do we want? So the Sahaba, the Ansar gave their commitment, and then 6 years later in Khaybar, a lot of things happened in Khaybar. One of the things that happened was Amr bin Aqwa, Salma bin Aqwa's brother. As he was moving ahead in the campaign, he said a poem. He said, لولا أن الله ما اهتدينا ولا صدقنا ولا صلينا فأنزل السكينة علينا وثبت أقدامنا لاقينا. He said a poem, and he was chanting this poem loud. And the Prophet ﷺ looked at him and he says, Man al-Qa'id? Who is this one singing this poem? And they said, Amr. And the Prophet ﷺ said, غفر لك ربك. May Allah forgive you. Meaning, forgive you for all your sins that you've done in the past, not for what you're saying. Umar radiallahu anhu was a high IQ level person. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, why would you say that? None of us here know what's wrong with saying that, right? The Prophet said, غَفَرَ لَكَ رَبُّكَ. May Allah forgive you. And the first time I read this story was in Marwan's Muhammad. First time I read this story. Though it's in Arabic somewhere else. Then I was like, he translated the Prophet's hadith. I went back to the Arabic text and I looked at it, it's like, there's nothing wrong with the Arabic statement. غَفَرَ لَكَ رَبُّكَ. May God forgive you. So Umar ibn Khattab said, "No, مَتَّعْتَنَا بِعَامٍ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ." Please, only if you could spare him a little bit. What does this mean? Whenever the Prophet ﷺ said to someone in a past tense, not say, "Oh Allah, please forgive," but if he didn't say, "Allahumma ghfir," or "Allahumma," like if he used a past tense, "ghafara," that means you're going to die soon. So Umar ibn Khattab caught that, and he said, "Ya Rasulullah, مَتَّعْتَنَا بِعَامٍ." Come on, Ya Rasulullah, why did you just why you could have spared him for a few more minutes? So Amr goes ahead, and one of the opponents at that battle was named Marham. And he came ahead and he wanted to fight the Muslims, like who could do a one-on-one with him. And Amr said, I'm going ahead. So he went ahead. So Marham says, قد علمت خيبر أني مرحب شاك السلاح بطل المجرب إذا الحروب أقبلت تلهب. Or كما قال. He says, everyone in Khaybar knows I'm the best fighter. And when I get into the fighting mode, I'm like a fire. Like I heat up. So just, try to face me. So Amr says a poem back. The same poem he says, he uses his name, and he fights and he gets hit in the artery with a spear, or one of the spear or something. And he's hurt. And when he took the spear out, he died. His blood just gushed and he died. So Sahaba came under this impression that he killed himself. They said, Batala, like everything Amr has done, basically he's the one, he didn't die from just a direct injury, but he removed the weapon or the spear, and then all of a sudden he killed himself. So Salma, his brother, goes to Salma and Abu Bakr, Ya Rasulullah, this happened with Amr. He was hit and he didn't die, and obviously the pain of it, he pulled it out, it looks like he killed himself. The Prophet said, no, level ajran, he gets double the reward for dying as a shaheed. Don't. So he clarified that. So then, Khaybar was a long battle. So the next day the Prophet said, I'm going to give this flag to someone. I'm going to give this flag to someone that Allah loves. They love Allah and they love the Rasul, and Allah loves them and the Rasul loves them. The next day he said, when Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib goes, and then Marhab comes to Ali. He says the same poem to Ali, trying to intimidate him. And then Ali says, أنا الذي سمتني أمي حيدرا كليث غابات كريها المنظرة أو فيه بالصاعقين السندرة. He says, let me make it very clear. Marhab saw a dream. The background of the poem is Marhab saw a dream a while back that a lion was going to kill him. A lion was going to kill him. And he narrated this dream to someone. Ali was aware of this dream. Right? So Ali says, أنا الذي سمتني أمي حيدرا. If you're thinking about how you're going to die, I'm going to let you know my mom named me a lion. So most likely the interpretation of your dream is I'm going to kill you. أنا الذي سمتني أمي حيدرا كليث الغابات كريه المنظر. I'm like a lion who's in the jungle, and just by seeing that lion, you drop bricks. You just get scared. So just to let you know. And of course, Ali kills the person later on in the battle. So in that battle, we have the Prophet ﷺ, after Khaybar, the Muslims, وَمَغَانِمَ كَثِيرَةً تَأْخُذُونَها. Allah says, how much they gain? So much wealth. He calls the Ansar, and he says, Ansar, إن شئتم أن تطيبوا ثمار بخيبر. If you wish, I can give you back all the investments that you had sacrificed for our causes. All the money, all the gardens, all the money that you spent for our deen. And it would make you happy. It would make you feel like you did so much and you didn't lose anything in this dunya, and inshallah you get akhirah. So basically the Prophet was trying to favor them in the sense that you've done so much for us, let me pay you back. So the Ansar, they could have easily said, yeah, let's do this, right? And they sit down and say, Ya Rasulullah, إنه قد كان علينا الشر ولنا عليك شر. He said, Ya Rasulullah, we had some commitment. إنه قد كان علينا شروط. علينا شر ولنا عليك شروط. So, Ya Rasulullah, you had made commitments to us. And you asked us to do this, do this, do this. So many commitments. And every time the Sahaba and the Ansar said, تِلْكَ رُتْبَةٌ صَعْبَةٌ. One of the conditions was like, the Ansar said, Ya Rasulullah, we want to bring you to Medina. And then the Ansar are like, Ya Rasulullah, no one has ruled over Medina except the resident of Medina. So bringing you to Medina and then you're going to leave Medina is unheard of. You're a foreigner. And then you're asking us to accept your religion. Unheard of. That's hard. You're asking us to break ties with anyone that fights against you. تِلْكَ رُتْبَةٌ صَعْبَةٌ. We're ready to do this. We're ready to do all these things. Every time they said this, تِلْكَ رُتْبَةٌ صَعْبَةٌ. We did all these things. This is early in Aqaba. And now the Prophet said, what was the condition? I fulfilled them. They said, Ya Rasulullah, we had all these demands that you made upon us. We've done it all. But we had a deal with you. وَلَنَا عَلَيْكَ شَرْطٌ. We made a deal with you. The Prophet was like, okay, what's that deal? What did I promise you in return of everything you do? Mindset. They said, Jannah. The Prophet said, فَذَاكُمْ لَكُمْ. Your paradise is waiting for you. We don't want this. He says, فَذَاكُمْ لَكُمْ. We want paradise. So it's a commitment. And we're not shy away from it. And we're not afraid of it. What are we doing here? What's our mindset? Is our mindset like the non-Muslims, celebrities, amass wealth, amass fame, followers, gain this, gain that? Okay, we have to have the mindset where we are prepared for the next world. And when the mindset was questioned, something happened. In Khandaq, only 5 people were able to jump over the trench. Only 5 people. And amongst the 5, there was a man by the name of Amr ibn Abdul Wud. One of the biggest. If you Google Amr ibn Abdul Wud, it's this fake picture that shows up, right? And it shows you like the best warrior of Quraysh. It's like Wikipedia has like this great warrior expression. Anyways, Amr ibn Abdul Wud was the best fighter of the Arabs. And he came across the trench. And he said, who's going to fight me? One-on-one. So nobody got up. Ali says, Ya Rasulullah, it's me. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Ijlis, innahu Amr. Chill out. I know you're excited about this, but like, that's Amr ibn Abdul Wud, the best fighter of the Arabs. You're serious? Sit down. He's like in his mid-20s. Ali, radiallahu anhu. Sit down. It's okay, fine. So I'm just doing the math. If Ali was 10 years old, right? Khandaq was 4 years after Hijrah. So he's like 26, 27. Not even. Prophet 13, how many years in Makkah? 13. So he's 23 when the Hijrah happens. Add another 3-4 years, 27, 28. So he's in his 20s. Young guy. So Amr bin Abdul Wud says, man, you guys, come on, someone face me. So nobody stands up. Abu Ubaidah ducking, right? Bin Jarrah, Umar bin Khattab is ducking. And he was like, I don't know, man, I don't know about this guy. And then Ali said, Ana, it's me, Rasulullah. Let me go. The Prophet says the second time, Ijlis innahu Amr. Sit down, you have no idea who this guy is. So Amr bin Abdul Wud drops that line. Guess what line he drops? He was testing their mindset. I'm just trying to tell you what happens. Sometimes the non-Muslims will test your mindset to see if you're sincere. And then he says, this is very deep. Amr ibn Abdul Wud says, أين الجنة التي تزعمون أنه من قتل دخلها. You hear what he said? So sometimes you will hear Islamophobes and haters, oh, your hijab is going to take you to paradise. Oh, you're praying, you really believe in God. And yeah, we'll say that. Like, oh, you don't drink. What do you mean? What is the definition of a good Muslim? I was teaching my class. What is the definition of a good Muslim to Islam? Someone that drinks, parties, and dates. That's an ideal Muslim. Or your son dies in Iraq and he's a patriot. Even that was like, I'm not going to speak against anything like that, but like, even when like an organization like Islam takes that type of father and stands up on the podium, basically they're slapping the Muslims in the face by saying the only way you can be a true patriot is to tell your son or your daughter dies in war. Like, it's counterproductive for assimilation for a Muslim community. Like, does a white person have to have a child die to show true patriotism to the country? So why are you making this brown Pakistani Muslim Gold Star member a true patriot just because he had someone die in Iraq? That's double standard. And you know what the funny thing is, right? I don't expect anything better from those people who dance to those tunes. But what I expect, Muslims shouldn't dance to the same rhetoric. Right? And Muslims are so cheap, they just want PR. They just want free press. And I say it like it is sometimes. Like, what do you think? And almost like he's a keynote speaker for the biggest convention in America. I mean, thank you for your commitment, but like, I'll bring you flowers, but like, what message are we standardizing for true, like, civil Muslims? This is like, you take out the Constitution. Donald Trump read the Constitution. Freaking hasn't read the Bible, read the Constitution. So so sometimes you're going to be challenged by this type of ideology. Really? أين الجنة الذي أنتم تزعمون أنه من قتل دخلها فقام علي says, Salam, please delete this video after we're done. I don't want to sound less patriot. So where's that Jannah? Where's that Jannah? So qama Ali said, it's right here. Let me go. Prophet ﷺ said, Innahu Amr. You just sit down, Ali, you don't know what you're talking about. The Prophet Ali says, Walau kana Amran ya Rasulullah. I don't care if that's Amr, please let me go. Then Ali gets up and he says, لا تعجلن فقد أتاك مجيب صوتك غير عاجز بنية والصدق من جاء كل فائز إني أريد أن أقيم عليك نائحة الجنائز من ضربة النجلة ذكرها عند الحزائز. He said, listen, buddy, don't be too hasty. I'm here to set the record straight. And I'll translate the poem in a second, but when he comes out to meet Amr ibn Abdul, he says to Amr ibn Abdul, I also know that you have this mindset that if someone presents two things to you, you will always pick the best option. So the first thing I present to you is to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. You call them towards Islam. So I have no interest in that. He said, then we got to fight. Let's go. Then Amr ibn Abdul says, who are you? He said, Ana Ali. He said, Ali ibn Abdul Manaf, are you the son of Abdul Manaf? Meaning, are you the uncle of the Prophet, like the relative from the higher, like first generation? He said, no, Ana Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, what? You're a child. He said, excuse me. He said, bring someone from your uncles. You want to fight a kid? You want to fight a kid? So Ali said, I want to fight you. And that's what Ali said, La ta'jalanna, listen, don't be too hasty. The response to your bold statement has arrived. And I want to beat you in such a way that when you die, I want women to cry, I want people to cry over your loss. And then when children and parents read stories of the best warriors, I want them to narrate the story in that book. When people talk about the best warriors, I want the story to be a part of that legacy. Of course, Ali wrote them. But sometimes you have to understand, you're going to have different challenges in your commitment to Islam. Work, beauty. What is youth's biggest threat? Is their beauty sometimes. Sometimes it can be their own education that can be a hindrance. And you might say, like, what? How is my beauty going to compromise my paradise? How many beautiful boys and young sisters, they are so impressed by their beauty, they're ready to compromise Islam just to expose that. Sometimes it gives me education. My education is more important than Salah. My education is more important than my parents. My education is more important than my Islam. You can't compromise Islam and the values even for your own parents. فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. Be good to them. But when it comes to Islam, we're not going to compromise. So this is the paradise that we want to look for. We want to search for. The Prophet made that mindset. He made that mindset. And that's what they always talked about. Jannah, khalas, we're going to Jannah. How, what is this dunya to compare to that? So when someone dies from COVID, and you see them, you say your mother, your father died as shaheeds. It's a sad situation, but that's what they want to be. They want to be in Jannah. And when people wake up on the day of judgment and they're escorted to paradise, what's better than that? What's better than paradise? What's better than that? Tell me something better than that in the Quran. Nothing. Can you imagine? A black man came to the Prophet ﷺ, and he sat down. As he sat down, Surah Insan started, Revelation of Surah Insan began. Halaqa al-Insan, Hinu Nadan. And anyone that knows this, in the middle of the Surah Insan, the description of Jannah comes. وَجَزَاهُمْ بِمَا صَبَرُوا جَنَّةً وَحَرِيرًا مُتَّكِئِينَ فِيهَا عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ لَا يَرَوْنَ فِيهَا شَمْسًا وَلَا زَمْهَرِيرًا وَدَانِيَةً عَلَيْهِمْ ظِلَالُهَا وَظُلِّلَتْ قُطُوفُهَا تَذْلِيلًا. And he starts to describe Jannah. And that is something we're reading in Fajr on Friday morning. It's prescribed to remind people of that paradise. So when the Quran comes to this verse, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ ثَمَّ رَأَيْتَ نَعِيمًا وَمُلْكًا كَبِيرًا, and Allah is saying to the Prophet, when you will see your Jannah, you're going to see it. When you see it, ثَمَّ رَأَيْتَ, then you're going to look back at it. You're going to be amazed by the kingdom that you have. So this person from Africa, probably from a very poor, people who were at that time of the Prophet ﷺ, there were people who were coming from difficult backgrounds, especially who were brought from Africa to Arabia. And Islam liberated them. So he probably said, Ya Rasulullah, this such kingdom? Really? He said, yeah. He says to the Prophet ﷺ, هَلْ تَرَى عَيْنِي مِثْلَ مَا تَرَى عَيْنُكَ? So, Prophet Allah, the Quran is saying that you're going to see it. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ, second person, right? Everyone that went to Genesis Academy, they know Arabic, Arabiya, they probably really well memorized it. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ ثَمَّ رَأَيْتَ. When the Prophet is being spoken to directly. So the man says, هَلْ تَرَى عَيْنِي مِثْلَ مَا تَرَى عَيْنُكَ? Will my eyes also witness what your eyes are going to see that Allah is saying in the Quran? And the Prophet ﷺ said, Na'am, of course. فَصَاحَ صَيْحَةً. And the man, when he heard this, he screamed, yelled, and he collapsed. This is not a joke. This is Ibn Kathir, one of the tafsir of this ayah. When the Prophet ﷺ took his hand, put it on his chest to see his heartbeat, and he noticed his soul had left. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, قَدْ مَاتَ صَاحِبُكُمْ شَوْقًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. You're in front of you, one of your companions has just left to us, excited for Jannah. And I'm not amazed. When I was a kid, not anymore, but when I was a kid, I noticed people fainting on Michael Jackson concerts. Am I right? Look at that. You still I still love those. Right? People would just faint. People were carried on stretchers in the middle of a concert of a singer just doing the moonwalk and pointing at them. If that's the case of him, imagine the person that split the moon talking to you. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قَدْ مَاتَ صَاحِبُكُمْ شَوْقًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. Someone was like, how is that even possible? But just turn YouTube videos on and you'll see it. People have cardiac arrest at his concert. It's not a joke. Bodies were carried out of the concert. And then I say this story. I bet you some man was like, that's not true. How can this happen? Well, you need to watch Michael Jackson. It's possible. People can get so excited for something, and something can happen to their heart. Am I right? So, I'm not asking you to get that excited. Excited enough to wake up for Fajr. Excited enough to give away the temptations of this dunya. Excited enough that when you go through hard times, like, I give the example of like, you have your lactose, or you have some allergies, or you have some medical condition, I feel for my friends who are lactose. Like we're having cookies and milk and like, oh, sorry, I don't have lactose milk in my fridge. Abood, every time it comes to my house, I have to have extra lactose in my fridge. It's there, and it never comes for a month. And like, alhamdulillah, it survives for longer than average milk gallon. But like, I see the situation. I have relatives, I have brothers, I have a child that's, when he eats chocolate, he almost vomit all the time, So the thing is that when you have these even medical conditions, physical conditions, we look at someone with autism like, I feel bad for a blind person. I will take care of them. They wouldn't judge me. This Sharif, what's his name? He comes to our Halaqa. His mom passed away from Tennessee. His mom, what's his name, guys? His wife used to come to Halaqa too. He's a doctor. Isa Sharif, right? Isa. He's been trying to contact me multiple times. His mom passed away 4 weeks ago. I'm looking for the school. And he's like, I just want to sit with you. I want to talk to someone. And guess what? Finally, I asked him to come over. He's like, I got my COVID second shot. I'm having some reaction, so I can't come over. So we were not able to schedule. Some of it was my fault. Some of it was the effect of COVID second dose. And finally, the vaccine's second dose. Finally, I was like, you know what? We'll just have a conversation on the phone. Let's go. Let's talk. So we spoke. And he said, Sheikh, I have one question. I just want to know, I just want assurance of my mom's in Jannah. SubhanAllah. And I can't say anything to him like, I've seen Jannah. So I started asking him questions. I asked him, like, do you have any sisters? Because Sheikh Muhammad has 3 daughters. I'm definitely going to Jannah, inshallah. Right? Someone saw a dream regarding that from Sheikh Muhammad. Interesting dream. It's not my dream, it's their family, so I can't share it. So, he said, no, I have no sisters. I said, did your mom perform Hajj? He's like, my mom, look, we were never rich enough to go for Hajj. So I'm trying to find excuses. I found 1 or 2 here and there, and I said, how did your mom die? She said, this illness and this, infection and stuff. I said, for sure, she went through months of pain. All sins are forgiven, inshallah. And then later on in the discussion, he said, well, I have a brother who has autism. And the minute he said that, I was driving, and I smacked myself. I was like, what? Are you serious? She took care of a child all her life with autism? Where else is she going to go? Where else is she going to go? Jannah, if an immodest woman can feed a hungry dog, right? Hadith al-Bukhari, and God can have mercy on her, change her situation, and take her to Jannah, why can't he? Like, it's just a human, her own son. And I just said, I've read so many narrations where it comes to serving people, helping people, that Allah promises Jannah. And I said, this is it. That's all I wanted to hear. That's all I wanted to hear. He was like so happy. He's like, thank you so much. Some things were just simple, like they just need something to tell you. He was so happy. Like that's what matters. It's just like, I asked him, did you see a dream yet? He's like, not yet. Not yet, So dreams give you a lot of support and about people's Jannah. So we are alive right now. We have the opportunity. We're young. Mindset. It's your mindset. Like what made Kobe Bryant better than anyone else that was 6'6" in the NBA and came in a higher draft? Kobe was 6th round or something? 6th pick or something? I don't remember. But like, what made him better than the people in his time who were athletes? The Mamba mentality. It was a mindset. What made Abu Bakr greater than all the Sahaba? It was a mindset. What is our mindset? I'm Muslim, Adi, and I'm gonna hope and bank on my parents and my grandparents in Jannah. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Because we don't even know how they're gonna die. And what if the situations turn and they're gonna bank on us? What if our children need us? And my dad always says to me, he says, Abdullah, it's not about us, it's about how many we can take. I say, how many can we take? Take, people are waiting. At the person is just waiting for us. Go to Jannah. You know, time, like the other day, someone came on Miftah Live. He's like, I went to the masjid during COVID, the masjid was locked. I emailed them, oh, accept Islam. Finally got a reply after a month, accept Islam. People are waiting. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our mindset of Jannah. When you eat, when you drink, when you go through pain, hardship, suffering, worries, and even when you enjoy it. Allahumma la aisha illa aisha al-akhirah. The real life starts there. Figure that out. It makes things easy. It doesn't like extinguish your pain, but it helps you deal with pain in that mindset. So hopefully that was my message. I hope I got it clear in the sense that we can have a positive mindset for paradise. It's okay. It's all right. I'll see you. You know, like a poet says, عليكم سلام الله وإني راحل وعيناي من فوق التفرق تجمع وإن نحن عشنا فهو يجمع بيننا وإن نحن متنا فالقيامة نجمع. It's beautifully, it's like, you know, I'm giving you my greetings of salam and my eyes weep with tears because I'm going to miss this opportunity. وعيناي من فوق التفرق تجمع وإن نحن عشنا فهو يجمع بيننا. If we live again, if we live long enough and time permits, we'll meet again. Otherwise, we're going to meet on Qiyamah. We'll be there. We'll be there. And that also helps you when you see like someone go to the beach, taking off their clothes and just do whatever they want. And I'm like, is that all they're going to get to sunset? And they're worried about getting burnt in the sun? Like they're worried about so many things. Is that all they're going to get? Right? And they're so careful about their body image. We got Jannah forever. There's no sunset. There's no sunburn. There's no too cold, too hot. Everything is just perfect. It's just perfect. Like, you know, like the perfect climate, the perfect timing, the perfect health, the perfect age, the perfect people, the ambiance, everything is just perfect. And we try to make that in this dunya. And then we just compromise. نرقع دنيانا بتمزيق ديننا ولا ديننا يبقى ولا ما نرقع فطوبى لعبد آثر الله ربه وجاد بدنياه لما يتوقع. It just doesn't happen well. Just have that mindset for everything out there. Why are you getting up? Get up for Jannah. There's a discussion that's above this discussion. And I can't have that with you right now. It's a little bit too philosophical. Maybe some other time. To some people, for some people, this whole 1 hour discussion will sound insincere when we talk about Allah. The next discussion will be, don't even do it for Jannah, just do it for Allah. The next discussion is what? And that's Ridwan min Allah. That's just. But I think I am not at that level to share. I'm not myself. I'm like, come on, I want to know a little bit more, right? But and I'm sure the Prophet in the Quran used the Jannah as a bait to encourage them. That's why not share it with people. So I use this discussion. But the next tier is that I don't want to hear about the rivers only. I want to hear that Allah is happy with me. What is the one min Allah? Just that, knowing that I will be with Allah. Allah is pleased with me. That's the next level. That's what we're looking for. Inshallah. May Allah grant us both of them. No, Allah is kidding. May Allah make this dunya easy for us. May Allah grant us the gardens which beneath rivers flow, the eyes have never seen, where the trees change over 100 years long journey, where there's no pain, where there's no tears, there's no age, there's no sickness. There's no fighting, there's no arguing, there's no noise, there's no chaos, there's no hate, nothing but love. A Jannah where the earth is saffron and pearls, rivers of honey and milk, where servants serving you day and night, angels gliding at your service. Sahaba for your late night discussions. Prophet ﷺ as your companion, and Allah's throne as your roof. What could be better than that? Allahumma astaghfirullah. I'm going to end right there. Sheikh, just say a couple of words, just like 3-4 minutes. You can take off the mask, or I bring the mic there. Do you need to share, guys? Everyone checking? Just say, like, just tell a little bit about yourself. Just 2 minutes. My students want to see you. These are my students in Flint. As you can see, these are the boys. The girls, nowadays it's hard to tell the difference. My wife sent me like a picture of like one of the lead medical directors for Biden's like this nurse practitioner. And I sent her a message back. This is a he or she. She's so mad at me.
You guys angry?
They're not angry, they just don't know you.
Brothers and sisters, I just want to thank my honorable brother and teacher here, Sheikh Abdullah, for the amazing, uplifting spirit that he gave to all of us. We make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah take us together in Jannah and grant us a life of amnesty and prosperity in this dunya. And I just wanted to say that I hope no one from Virginia is watching us, but mashallah, the enthusiasm and the zeal that I have seen here is not found everywhere in the United States. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, that's why you guys are here today. Especially on a weekday night, it's very hard to get even 2 to 3 people to sit down so late at night in the masjid, listen about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because Allah loves you, you are here. I normally tell my friends that, there's one advice that I heard from my elders, that on one side a person doesn't miss salah because he's scared of Allah. So I tell them, if you just change that a little bit, you should read salah because you love Allah. It will be a different scenario. So we all are here today not because we are scared of Jahannam. We all are here today because we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen you to be here today. So value these opportunities because there are many out there. There's many masajid that I have been to recently. I was in an area last week, Thursday. I went to 3 different places for Asr Salah and the masajid were closed. And I had to read Salah in a parking lot. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, mashallah, chosen all of you to be here in His house and to be among such people that are, mashallah, learned, knowledgeable, and they are a pragmatic example of that knowledge. It's not that they understood something wrong, they learned something wrong, and they're conveying wrong. That's also a danger that we see today. So people who actually acquire knowledge with difficulty into that knowledge. And today, mashallah, you guys are sitting in comfort. Hazrat, mashallah, he traveled to different parts of the world to gather that knowledge so you can benefit. So my humble advice to all of you would be that please value Sheikh Abdullah. Mashallah, he's an asset to the community. And very few people like this in the world. No, I'm just speaking more hard. So, I'm prepared, whatever Allah is putting in my heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability, and I'm not in a position to speak after him, so I will never do anything like that, inshallah. But I would just ask you to please make dua for us also. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unites us here and in Jannah. And just one thing that I would just say that, the small piece of flesh that we have in our mouth, make sure you never hurt anyone from it. It's something, you know, Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi, he had a ring, and on that it was written that جلده صغير وجرمه كبير. The size of it is small, but the crime is very offensive. So don't hurt anyone. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان. If you do good to anyone, the reward is except good. I just want to narrate one story and I conclude, inshallah. There was this American lady, she was driving, and on that day she had received her paycheck and she had retired from whatever position she was in. While she was driving on the highway, her tire punctured and she pulled onto the side of the road. And now she was worried that, you know, what I'm going to do. And it was extremely hot. So she stepped out of the vehicle and she saw this was something beyond her means to change the tire. So she came back inside her car and she waited. As she was waiting, she saw there was a youngster that pulled up and he offered her help. And he said that I would like to help you. And why don't you sit in my car meanwhile? The lady accepted the help and she sat in this youngster's car. And the youngster then changed the tire of that car without knowing this lady or any relationship or bond before that. And she was admiring the entire situation and she said, okay, you know, I have retired and have X amount of money in my bank account. If I give him something, it's not going to do anything to him. It's not going to do anything to me, but just a token, just a gesture of appreciation. So after the youngster had fixed the tire, he comes back to the car. The lady gives him an envelope. So he rejects the envelope and he returns it back to her. And he said that when I love to help others, when I help someone, I feel happy and ecstatic. And he returned the envelope back to her. So she was amazed and blown away, and the journey continued. She went her way and he went his way. Later on, the lady stopped at a restaurant. She was hungry and she could stop at a restaurant. Now, in the restaurant, she saw that there was this young girl and she was expecting and probably in the latter days of her pregnancy. But despite that difficulty, she was still working. So the lady ordered the food. The food was brought, and this lady asked her that despite all this difficulty, why are you still working? So she said, you know, I needed X amount of money for my pregnancy, and this is why my husband and I still have to work. So this lady recalled the incident that happened to her earlier that day. So she writes this particular waitress a check, and in that she writes the very note the youngster told her earlier, that I love to help others. When I help someone, I feel happy. The journey continues. The husband and the wife meet at dinner at home. And the husband asks her that, did you raise sufficient funds for the pregnancy because the date is very near? And the lady recalls the waitress. She was like, oh, you know what, there was actually a lady that came to the restaurant today and she gave me some extra tip or something. She brings that envelope and she gives it to the husband. And when the husband opens that envelope, he sees there is a note in there that I love to help others. When I help someone, I feel happy. It turned out to be this was the very same youngster who had actually fixed the tire. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then returns back the good with good. And Allah is saying this in the Quran, Al-Jaza'u al-Ihsan illa al-Ihsan. Is there any reward for good except good? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of us. When I heard this from my Shaykh Hafidahullah, I was blown away that sometimes when we do good to someone, for example in Michigan, maybe the reward of that Allah will bless us somewhere else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of us, and please keep me and my brothers in your dua that Allah take us safely, and whatever plans and chores we have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from us. And once again, please value our asset here, inshallah.
So we have a ski trip this Saturday, and I hope to see some of the young people here on the hills, falling down, crushing themselves. But I plan to be there on Saturday morning, so I hope to see you guys there too. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sana. Sana. Well, tell her again that you didn't come and you don't come today. Sana, go back off.